the approval of minutes from the June 7th meeting.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, minutes are approved. We have 3 items under old business. All have requested to postpone. I won't read them into the record, but 375 Banfield Road and 2 Russell Street have both requested to postpone. So we'll carry those over to the August meeting. And so the first item under new business, we'll read both A and B into the record. The request of Tuck Realty Corporation, owner and applicant for properties located at 212, 214, and 216 Woodbury Avenue, requesting preliminary and final subdivision approval for a lot line relocation to create the following lots. Proposed Lot 1 to be 60,025 square feet of lot area, where 26,012 square feet are existing. Proposed Lot 2 to be 12,477 square feet of lot area, where 29,571 square feet are existing. And proposed Lot 3 to be 7,917 square feet of lot area, where 24,836 square feet are existing. No changes in street frontage are proposed. Said properties are located on Assessor Map 175, lots 1, 2, and 3, and lie within the General Residence A District. And B, the request of Tuck Realty Corporation, owner and applicant for properties located at 212 Woodbury Avenue, requesting site plan approval for the construction of an 8-unit condominium development consisting of 4 single-family unit structures and 2 2-unit structures, 18 parking spaces where 13 are required, and associated stormwater, utility, and site improvements with access to the development from Boyd Street. Said properties are located on Assessor Map 175, Lot 1, and lie within the General Residence A District. Who's here to present this?
Thanks, Peter. My name is Joe Coronati with Jones & Beach Engineers. With me, I have Mike Garapi from Tuck Realty. This property, it's actually 3 parcels that are before you. It's map 175's lots 1, 2, and 3. The plan of this development is to do a couple lot line adjustments to make the lot areas smaller for lots 2 and 3, basically to then absorb their backland from those 2 parcels in with lot 1, which is 212 Woodbury Ave, and then we would do an 8-unit condominium development in the enlarged parcel in the now larger 212 Woodbury Ave parcel. The design incorporates having a driveway off of Boyd Road, to not have any new curb cuts or even use the existing curb cut on Woodbury. So we'd only have one driveway off of Boyd Road, which would line up with Manor Drive. It's a short driveway to provide access to these 8 units. The unit makeup here is two duplexes and 4 single families. The parcel generally slopes towards the rear, or the northwest corner, is the low point on the land. That's where we have our bioretention drainage system, and we would also be then using the existing sewer on Boyd to connect these units into sewer, and we would be tapping the water main on Woodbury Ave. We've already looked at, we went to a preliminary meeting with the planning board, and the discussion at that meeting included extending the sidewalk on Woodbury Ave. So we've incorporated that into this design. There's already a sidewalk on the other side of Woodbury Ave, but there's none on our side. So the sidewalk you're looking at on the site plan that Peter has up right now is all proposed sidewalk. There's, as was mentioned, there's no change to the curb cuts to lots 2 and 3. Those houses would remain, driveways would remain, and then we would be tapping into the water main on Woodbury Ave, which is on our side. We did provide lighting and landscaping plans, architectural plans by Art Forms. Wendy Welton did those designs. And I think that's pretty much it for an overview. We've submitted a drainage report. We have received comments, preliminary comments or comments for this hearing. I'd be happy to go through those if you
Sure,
want.
that'd be great at this time.
The first one talks about providing pervious driveway materials for each of the units. We don't necessarily need to do that for drainage. We have enough space on the property for the stormwater, so we had not intended to do porous driveways. But we can, I guess, talk about that further. The bioretention pond is basically a rain garden. There's kind of a synonymous names. So we are providing LID components to this site. We do have stormwater infiltration from some roofs. We have the bioretention pond. We have some swales to direct water all to that corner. So I think we are including adequate LID drainage. Number 3 is recommended that the property owner include pervious materials in their pedestrian paths and LID techniques to better manage the stormwater runoff. And maybe it would be helpful if we just outline what our LID techniques are that we are providing to kind of address these items. As I said, I feel like we are already providing those. The number 4, applicant needs to include a 9-foot wide landscape buffer between the proposed public sidewalks on Woodbury and the property. We can do that. I assume that 9 feet is on our property? Is that how that, the sidewalk is pretty much on the edge of the right-of-way line, so I guess it would have to be. But we have room along Woodbury to plant our buildings set back a little ways. We situated that duplex so that we could reuse the existing driveway, the pedestals on the stone walls that are out there on Woodbury. We could reuse those as our walking entrance towards that duplex. But there's space all along Woodbury for additional landscaping if needed. Irrigation planning, those are certainly notes we can add to the plans. Number 6 discusses a wetland. There is a wetland shown on the city GIS mapping. So when we saw that at the initial stages, we had Brendan Walden from Gove Environmental go out and look at the site, and we have a letter from him, which we can hand out if. I don't know how many copies you
I
got.
just brought one for the
Oh,
file.
That's right, I saw it.
All right, you already saw
For
it.
the
Mike
record.
emailed it over today, and
Yeah, I think we got it already for the record. Yeah.
For the file?
so we did look at that because we saw that as well and wanted to confirm what we had out there. And number 7, confirm solid waste disposal plan. I guess that's a question I'll bring up now. Typically with these condominium developments, the residents keep the trash in their garages. They have a private hauler pick them up, but I'm not sure if that's how the city has always handled these smaller condominium projects, or if you would do trash pickup on a private drive like this. I don't know if that's something the city does on other developments. Anyone can answer that for me. Is it typical that you'd pick up trash on a private?
I don't think so.
Did ever bring it to the curb, or do they always have private haulers to pick them up internally?
Not in a condominium, I don't think. Not something like this.
All
If
right.
they had frontage on the road and they were individual houses, we might, but
I think it's like 1 or 2 units. I don't think it goes beyond that.
All right. So we can add a note to the plan that that references, trash will be stored in the garages and picked up with a private hauler, and that could be made part of the condominium documents. The number 8 talks about confirming the right to flow stormwater onto adjacent land. And obviously, all properties flow basically onto adjacent parcels. The regulations require that we're allowed to continue that flow. We're just not allowed to increase it. So that's what our drainage study shows, is that we have no increase in stormwater rate or volume onto the abutting property. So that we do not need an easement from the neighbor as long as we do not increase that. And that's the goal of your stormwater regulations. The number 9, DPW has significant safety concerns with stormwater detention area. Elevation of stormwater detention area is significantly higher than the area behind the retaining wall on adjacent property. And that area is modified in order to create separation of water table and stormwater treatment within that rain garden. So we can look at maybe some of the concerns as moving it away. We did keep we are trying to keep approximately a 10-foot buffer along that property line, because there are some significant existing trees that we want to maintain in there. So we try to continue all of our grading, except for maybe the exactly where the outfall is. Keep that grading away from the property line so we could keep those trees, because they are significant and create a good buffer to the hotels that are behind us. So I can take a look at that. If I have any questions, maybe I can just contact you, Dave, and if that was your concern, and we can look at that specifically.
Yeah, I think we're principally concerned about the sheet flow across the parking lot, primarily. But also just the loading on the retaining wall as well.
Retaining wall on the north side.
Yeah.
I think this retaining wall up on this corner. We tie into that retaining wall for our stormwater, and bring that back to get the grades to drop. Well, that may lead into one of the other comments related to site walk. So, and the number 10, stormwater plan is approvable. Does not believe the stormwater plan is approvable as designed due to the discharge sheet flow across the parking lot. And I think that's where we do have a decrease. We're not expecting a increase, obviously, in any flow to the neighbors or across their parking lot. There is a catch basin within their parking lot where a lot of this stormwater ends up currently, and that's why our detention pond is so large, is to make sure we have a decrease for that pond and stormwater. And this also then relates to number 11, which is a request for a third-party drainage review, which I assume you will, the TAC committee will coordinate with a third-party engineer. The next item is the mailboxes moving towards the bike rack area, which I think we can do. And the last item is scheduling a site walk. I'm not sure if that's a site walk with this whole TAC committee, or if it's...
I put that in there, and I tried to go out to the site and look at it. I couldn't figure out how to get in there. They're surrounded by, existing homes. I didn't want to disparage to their property.
Start walking through their backyards.
So whoever wants to go can go, but if you could schedule it and tell us, when we could come, that someone will be there that can let us on, because I didn't even know who to ask out there. Just to get a walk on the site, it's really hard to get a sense of the site without that for me.
Yeah. Would you want us to set it up and invite
Yeah, that'd be
the
great.
whole group
Yeah.
if we can all?
Invite everybody here. They don't have to come, but the ones that want to.
Right. Sure. I know Dave and Zach have seen it, and I don't know if you'd want to re-see it, but maybe you would for that drainage concern, Dave, but we can certainly set that up.
Well, yeah, we're just not gonna be satisfied, I guess, with the sheet flow across the parking lot. We're gonna need to come up with a better solution.
You mean the driveway, Dave?
What parking lot do you mean, Dave?
The parking lot of the
The abutter?
roundabout.
Oh, the hotel.
Hotel out back.
I guess we'll need to figure that out, because I think that's what currently happens now, Dave, is sheet flow.
Right, but you're kind of concentrating it all in one spot, which I know it kind of funnels down to one spot now, but
Right.
right now it's kind of getting filtered through vegetation, and then now it's going to be a direct discharge, and I'm just not going to approve that.
Take a look at maybe.
Yeah, we can look at spreading that out again, too.
No, we're going to look at piping it.
Physical connection.
Yep.
None of that stormwater in those parking lots is city-owned, though, right? That must all be
No.
private, right? Yeah.
Either that or some sort of infiltration system where it's all getting infiltrated and there's no discharge. One or the other.
We could certainly look at ways to increase it. I don't know if we could do 100% on the site, but we could, based on adding, if we added pervious driveways in here, and maybe look at some of the other green spaces to adding.
Well, I'll leave it to you to come up with ideas, but
Right.
this is not going to get approved. By DPW at least.
And that's all I have. So, yeah.
All right, are there any other comments or questions from TAC members? Shanti?
So I assume these are sprinklered? Looks like you get a fire service.
We were not intending to sprinkler the buildings, no. We do have,
You show sprinkler rooms of the duplexes for some reason. Or there's fire mains coming off the water main, and then they're going into what appears to be exterior rooms, but the single families weren't. I was gonna ask the same thing.
we do show those. Is that something? Yeah, so that may be our bad. We were not intending to sprinkler the
Right, no, that's yeah.
duplexes, and I think because they have mechanical rooms, maybe that's where we got a.
Yeah.
So I noticed there's a third floor where the bedrooms are located on the duplex. It appears that the sill's over 20 feet to grade. So you need, I believe you're gonna need a sprinkler them anyway because it's a private road, but that'll be fire department. But if you didn't, then your windowsill, you gotta have a rescue balcony or a sprinkler because you're over 20 feet to grade for those bedrooms,
For the bedrooms from the
Yeah.
third floor of the duplexes.
right? But because of the private road,
Yeah, so I saw the turnaround that you guys have proposed. It's not really something we normally do in the middle of, and I realize you have that large retention pond there, so if you were to sprinkle them, then the turnaround wouldn't be an issue, and neither would be.
neither would the balcony.
I'm not telling you you have to, but I couldn't approve this because that turnaround in the middle is not acceptable.
So it'd be, yeah, so the other option would be to move that to the end of the road. Like a normal.
Yep, well, I'd have to see, I can't say yes or no, I'd have to see it in a drawing, but that does sound like something we could look at.
And these are all on grade, there's no basement with any of these.
I think there would be basements.
Okay, I didn't see it in the floor
Partial.
plan, it didn't indicate stairs going down.
These wouldn't have basements.
But,
No basements,
No
was that your
basements?
intention?
No, that's these are more of a townhouse sort of design, where this first level garage.
Right, on the duplexes.
On the singles, there would be basements proposed.
That's all that I have.
Eric, did you have?
Yeah, I had a couple, I didn't seem to make it in the comments. Is it possible to provide a sidewalk between the driveway and Woodbury Avenue along Boyd Road?
Along Boyd?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely room.
Okay. And the other comment I had was on the sightline plan that was provided. It combines two different types of sightlines. It really should be either one or the other. Should have a stopping sight distance diagram and an intersection sight distance diagram.
Show it here. No. I don't No, that's something
It
else.
should have a 2-foot object height in the middle of the road, at Boyd Road at the driveway, for vehicles coming up the hill on Boyd Road.
2 foot from the driver's eye to the,
Yeah, a 2-foot object at the intersection of the driveway.
all right.
All right, enforcement.
And the 3.5 driver's eye height is correct, it's just that you should have a 2-foot object at the driveway.
All right, I see what you mean, coming up the road towards our
Yeah.
intersection.
Yeah, but as far as the sidewalk goes, we're proposing to build sidewalk along that entirety of Woodbury,
Yep, I see that, that's good.
which we're happy to provide, but I guess we've got to sort of figure out how much sidewalk we're building for this project. I mean, these 2 existing houses aren't really even part of our site plan application. We're proposing to tie in the existing sidewalk along Woodbury. So I guess the question is, would be, what do you want us to build? Because I don't think it would be fair or reasonable for us to build all of it.
Certainly, the sidewalk along Woodbury is desirable, because you get more foot
Sure.
traffic out there.
That's what we assumed as well.
But, but it really doesn't tie into the whole site, that driveway, that walkway off of Woodbury, just comes into that one duplex.
Right.
That's
So
what I was thinking.
I guess that's a question for you
That's
folks to
another
sort of
100
figure
feet.
out is what's our,
We're asking for both.
Yeah,
I mean, it's only 100 feet to get from that driveway
to Woodbury.
out to Woodbury.
right, and again, I guess I'm asking sort of for you folks to think about what's our reasonable fair share of contribution to sidewalk. I think that's only fair to ask back. We don't have to answer that question today, but I think it's reasonable to ask.
Well, you want to get your people to a safe sidewalk.
Sure, absolutely.
Would that be something you'd see on, within the Boyd Road right-of-way as a city-owned
I
sidewalk?
actually think a better spot would be from where that turnaround is, right out to Woodbury Avenue. That way it's closer to where all the units are, in the back.
Just to,
Beside the duplex?
Along the property line between the next house over that they're truncating the backyard.
Yeah, the bike rack, is it?
I'm not looking at that
Those are
plan. but-
it's the 2 parking spots. They're not lined on that one, but.
Oh, that's, okay, not the turnaround. Gotcha. Sorry, looking at the utility plan.
Where it's expected to be.
Because we could run it, we do have some large trees on our property, but we could run it, through the green space on our land, or put it in the city right
I
away.
was gonna,
put it in the right of way.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'd rather not lose more trees, or as many as we're already losing. It's nice that you're trying to keep the ones along the property line. I was gonna ask for more street trees too on the Boyd side, maybe the Woodbury side too. I mean, a lot of trees out there now. Nice to have those replaced.
All right, we can look at that. There are a couple utility poles that are problematic right at that intersection of Boyd and Woodbury. Or maybe we can snake it kind of between them, or
Yeah. Or an easement on the corner. You'll figure it out.
go to the back side of them on our land, yeah.
Any other comments at this time from TAC?
Peter, if I
Yes,
may.
sure.
We may need I'm not clear on this, but you may need to put a fire hydrant somewhere in there. And also, if this is going to be a Woodbury Ave address, we're going to need some signage. So just make a note that you'll need to have some kind of appropriate signage to get us to the correct driveway.
Yeah, I guess that's a good question. I mean, a good comment in the sense, I would think we would have our own road name, private drive name, and then we'd be off of Boyd and not try to use Woodbury addresses, which would be confusing.
No, I know, I just,
Wouldn't know how to get to them, really.
some kind of signage will be required regardless, because
Right.
if it's a private road, just wanted to make a note that we'll need something so it's easily discoverable for emergency access.
Is that a private road?
No. No, this is all the city.
And we'll come up with a street name, show a street sign.
That's what I was bringing up. So it's a Boyd Road address. Not
Where's
that,
that?
but it should be. Oh, yeah. Is that it?
Or they were thinking make it because of
Where's the hydrant?
I mean, yeah, I would see it as a Boyd address, but I don't know about the.
Unit 320 Boyd Road, Unit 101, 22.
Sure, yeah. Like, and all I care about is having a sign that says 320 Boyd or whatever, 7 Boyd, that's it.
Oh, can I?
Go ahead, sure.
I think we were having trouble finding the detail, or much detail on that infiltration. It's a pretty big basin, and I think there was a little detail, but I think it said the whole plan D7 had a detail, and it wasn't. So maybe we need a little more detail on the rain garden or fire retention area. There is a little detail on D4. I thought there was
Yes.
supposed to be another detail referred to on the plan. I don't know if that's the one, it was in the wrong place.
That's our typical one with all the elevations and the filter media and the stone and the overflow, but if the plan's referencing another sheet number, we can look at that.
I think it is, it's just coming up here now.
That's our typical detail, and then same with the house roof infiltration. Detail is on that plan as well.
Yeah, it says D3, it's D4, I guess, but I guess I'd like to see more detail specifically in that fire retention. It's pretty big. What are you planting? Are you just planting lawn, really? And
Just
then
lawn, yes.
How the water goes in and the elevations it leaves from, I guess, are here, but are these typical, or are they, what's the elevation in the field for these?
The grading's all shown on C3 for the swales leading in and the slopes inside of it, and then the whole middle is flat, and we have all the numbers kind of outlined. Elevation B is top of filter course. So yeah, they're spelled out in that table as well as in the C3 grading plan. And they are level. And then the limit of the
So that
bioretention is
outlet's at
shown.
46, elevation 46, right?
Yes, so then there's so you got to go from the detail to the outlet structure, which is right next to it. And then that has different orifices at different elevations, and the outfall, the pipe out, is elevation 46.4.
Okay.
That's the invert out of the discharge outlet structure. And then the outlet end of it towards the hotel side is 46. That's where, yeah, so that's where you saw that, Peter.
Okay.
Anything else before we open it up for public comment? Is there anyone here from the public who would like to speak to this? You can come up to maybe the chair on the end and state your name.
Good afternoon. I'm Mark Ayotte. I live with my wife and family on 9 Garden Street. The backyard abuts.
Do you mind just speaking into the microphone? Sorry. Go ahead and take a seat.
You
if
could
you'd
sit
like.
there if you want.
I'm all set with that. So our backyard abuts the senior center, the old Global Armory. A couple of questions. I don't know if it's possible if the trees that are going to be cut could be ribboned so we could identify the ones that will not. If I could ask that as a request, without going into a long dissertation on constraints related to West End yards, I'm going to go ask, having lived, my entire life here, if we would consider parking restrictions on each side of Boyd Road leading to Woodbury Avenue. I think I've been turning out of that street forever, and gets a little. There's quite a bit of an obstacle on the corner right now with bush and the rock that's there. But the concern is in the future, people park. Sometimes the housing authority needs to put trucks. Sometimes the city's got to go into the housing development there. And There's people parked on both sides of the streets, make it very difficult for people coming off of Woodbury. It's just more of a safety thing. Other than that, that's all that I had to recommend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For parking restrictions like that, that would be taken up through the Parking and Traffic Safety Committee?
Yeah, how does that adjudicate in the process? Is that where it goes next?
No, they don't have jurisdiction over development projects like this, but that would be a separate issue that you could bring to that committee and have it raised and put
So
on.
they meet regularly?
Yeah.
It's posted on the
Yes.
city page? Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Phyllis Randall, 99 Boyd Road. I have had a couple of concerns coming into this meeting. One being the number of trees that might be taken down, and they act as a, stormwater buffer and also a noise buffer for the homes on Boyd Road. And so we'd like to see as many trees saved as possible. The other thing is on the stormwater, the idea of having a permeable driveways is very appealing to me. There's a time, periodically, the yard between my house and number 79, which is actually a paper street belonging to the city, it will flood. And several years ago, it flooded to such an extent that all 4 houses on that side of the road from 79 down to number 123, all backyards were completely flooded. My neighbor rented a pump, and we pumped 130,000 gallons out of that area over the course of 10 hours. Periodically, we do get water down there. That was the worst one ever. That was back in, I think, 2006. But water comes streaming down Boyd Road, and I have concerns that this new development could add to that problem. So I would like that to be taken into consideration. I actually have a picture, if anyone is interested in what that flood looked like, as far as that is concerned. So, you want to, I don't know if anyone wants to pass it around. You can see it's significant.
And where is that? That's at the
That's-
end of Boyd Road?
No, it's halfway down Boyd Road on the left-hand side. There's an open area there, and, I'll just,
Would you mind passing it around? Yeah.
Dave, your guys came down and cleaned the drain up. There's a drain right by her driveway. That pretty much.
so that was the side yard and our backyard, and it was, as I say, it was significant.
So you're down on this side?
Is this Boyd Road?
This is
Yeah.
Boyd.
Oh, this is Boyd.
This is Boyd, so I'm down here a little bit.
Okay, got it.
Down the hill a little ways.
Yep.
Our roadway also slopes away from Boyd. We don't slope towards Boyd at all, so all our stormwater, none of it heads towards Boyd. It's going downhill from our entrance in.
There's some, I don't know if you were able to see on the plans, but, so here's Boyd Road, right?
Yep.
So all these trees,
Yep.
they're gonna remain in their entirety.
Okay.
And they're gonna add 3 green giant arborvitaes here, and then you get 23 trees planted all along here. And then this must be
What kind of
existing,
trees are they talking about?
huh? It says emerald green arborvitaes.
Yeah, those only get to, those aren't all that tall. It takes them a while to get there. I understand that they do act as a buffer, but,
And these stay, these all stay.
okay.
And then there's a Norway spruce.
There's some pretty old trees on that, on the back side there, so.
These all stay in place, and then this gets a buffer run all the way along there.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public like to make comments at this time? Sure.
Hi. My name is John Baldessari, 121 Boyd Road, and I just have a question based on what I see today, and it's regarding to the sidewalk. I just have a question, since considering that the developer is now providing a sidewalk, I believe essentially from the Holiday Inn or thereabouts down to the corner of Woodbury and Boyd. would the city consider extending that sidewalk along Woodbury in front of the public housing? Because right now, that's just grass, and it's uneven, and in the wintertime, it's snow and ice. I think right now, with the new sidewalk they're proposing, you'll reach that corner, and as a pedestrian, you're going to cross over anyway, because to go straight towards Cottage Street in front of the public housing is hazardous at best and unsightly at, at worst. It's, it might tie the whole thing down to Cottage Street. It's my only comment.
Dave, you have any thought? I know that has been a sidewalk that we've had in mind for several years, so I don't know what we have in plans for the next years, but.
If you're going to do that,
Yep.
it's a dead end the way it is, even with the new sidewalk they're providing.
Yeah, and we've seen the worn path in the grass there. It's obvious people are using it.
Yeah, and in the winter, it's really rough. The snow and ice just get kicked up off the road, and it's virtually impassable most of the winter.
No, it certainly would be, make sense to fill in that missing link. But
Okay.
I just don't know what the priorities, when the schedule would get to it.
Okay, that was my only question.
Anyone else here? Let me check the Zoom call. Anyone on the Zoom call like to, oops. If so, raise your hand. All right, seeing none, we'll close that portion of the public hearing, and sounds like we need to continue this one.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Postpone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next item is item C, the request of Randy and Jeff Collins, owners and applicants for property located at 77 Meredith Way, requesting preliminary and final subdivision approval to subdivide one existing lot with 22,463 square feet of lot area and 31.7 feet of street frontage into two lots with associated, with 73.3 foot road extension as follows. Proposed Lot 1 with 11,198 square feet of lot area and 73.79 feet of street frontage, and proposed Lot 2 with 11,265 square feet of lot area and 31.61 feet of street frontage. Said property is located on Assessor Map 162, Lot 16, and lies within the General Residence A district. Who's here to present?
Thank you, Peter, and members of the committee. Chris Mulligan from Boson and Associates, representing Jeff and Randy Collins. Mr. Collins is to my left. Brenda Kelbo from TFM Moran is handing out an updated plan set. We were before the Board of Adjustment last month to receive variances to move this project forward. We got frontage variances. And the plans that we submitted were essentially the plans that we had submitted to the Board of Adjustment. The major difference in the plans that you're getting today is an extension of Meredith Way beyond the end of the second driveway that we had proposed with the initial plans. We'd like to talk to you about the extension of the driveway. In the notes that were prepared last week, I believe the request was 5 feet. We've actually shown a fair amount more than that. But it's the Collins' goal, and this is based on a couple of factors, but primarily from the feedback that we received as the process went forward from members of the sort of the community out there. It appears that there's a fair amount of concern about adding additional or adding an amount of an additional pavement to the area, considering there are some drainage concerns both at the front of the property and towards the rear of the property. So what we would like to explore with you is, among other things, ways we can perhaps limit the amount of impervious surface that we have to introduce into the neighborhood to make this work. I think the initial comment of 5 feet past the last driveway is reasonable, and I think we can live with that. What we're showing is, on the most recent plans, is quite a bit more than that, and we would ultimately propose to cut that back to the 5 feet if we can. The other issue is tapering the existing right-of-way down to 16 feet as proposed over a 30-foot stretch. If it's possible, we'd like to have a more pronounced curve, again, so we can limit the amount of impervious pavement that we're introducing to the vicinity. Beyond that, I think the comments from TAC are pretty self-explanatory. We do have 1 foot water services to both homes, Brenda. I think those are shown.
Yeah, so the last time we were here, we were told that we need to connect the second house to Pine Street. And on this, it says to extend the 1.5-inch water line. Does that mean we just extend that water line that comes up Meredith Way and not have to go to Pine Street, or would we still need the connection across?
Yeah, you shouldn't be going to Pine Street.
So we can use the connection off Meredith, Dave?
Yeah, but you have to go back to where it's big enough.
So bring the 1.5 up to the first lot and then
Past the first lot, and
Past
then
the
you
first
can
lot.
reduce down to 1 inch. Yep.
Okay, so
Yeah, go ahead. What's your question?
would you know what the existing water line is on Meredith?
1.5 copper is what our things say.
Oh, okay, it is.
I also had a question about the sewer line from this. I have the DPW's GIS. And it looks like that's a force main down Fort Meredith Way. One of the comments was to confirm the 6-inch sewer service. So would that be the connection from the building, or is that the line along Meredith Way?
I have no idea what you're asking me.
One of the comments that says confirm size of sewer services is
That needs to be
6
6 inch coming from the house to the main.
And can you confirm that that is a force main on?
I don't think it's a force main. There's no pump station anywhere around there.
Okay.
Fortunately, Zach's not here. He's got the fancy tablet that tells us everything.
I guess one other question we had was the turnaround area. If we could potentially move the turnaround to the first lot, the first driveway, and that would help us eliminate the extra pavement at the end of Meredith Way. We could actually cut it off at the 5 feet. So they'd have to go up, but they'd have to back up for about 75 feet to get to the turnaround.
The problem you got is there'll be cars, and it would have been nice if we had elevations to these houses, but if that's where you place the garages, you got 2 cars parked outside the garage, there's no turnaround there on either of those lots, except for the one further back.
Right.
So I think that's a challenge. It would have been nice to see what you're gonna do here. You've labeled these as building envelopes. They're pretty substantial footprints. I wouldn't expect a 2,400 square foot house, and if that's what you're proposing, it's very different than what we were talking about originally. for it's either a 4,000 or 5,000 square foot house if it's got multiple stories, or you're doing, a large footprint with a front-loaded garage that doesn't appear to be even recessed from the facade versus coming into it and turning. I'd hate to see this whole design fall apart just because of a new desire to limit impervious surface when this lot has been pretty clear from the beginning what's wrong with it, what its liabilities and assets are. There's water at the front of the site, there's water at the back of the site. I think everybody's aware of that. So it'd be nice if we normally would get elevations with these plans to at least see how that house is gonna fit on there and answer some of the questions about the turnaround, because we'd need an easement to make sure that area is open.
Right.
And it's unreasonable to just have 2 garage spaces and not ever be able to park outside the garage in order to keep it open.
So we did explore the shared driveway concept.
Yep.
And I pushed both houses as far as I could over to each side, and there just wasn't enough room to pull in and park a car in front of the garage on both sides and be able to back up from both lots.
I'd like to see that, but I don't think that's the only way you have to do it either. I think you could have 2 separate driveways and still have those garages entered from the side, not the front. It just means there would be more impervious surface out there, but I think we're trying to find a delta here between that being the driver of a house design that's not really commensurate with the neighborhood because of the conditions on the site. I'd like to see that. So it's a pretty wide lot.
I did a quick sketch.
Right, your garages are in the wrong spot to do that. I mean, if the garages were slid back to this side, all those problems go away and these footprints change back here. If that's what you were doing, you'd have plenty of room to park 2 cars outside and still make these turning movements to come out. If your garages were over here instead of on the interior, similar to what you did on this house. Anyway, I'm not advocating you do that, but there's plenty of width there to have a shared driveway and have one driveway coming in, park 2 cars in here, park 2 cars outside, and still have plenty of room to maneuver out here for both of those units. That's garage, that's a garage.
Yeah.
And the doors are here.
I see what you're saying. That's what we initially had proposed, and.
I think that's what I drew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
it all changed yeah, I know what you're saying, though.
I mean, these are just easements, you still have 2 lots.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one way to do it. I think you could take this same approach here if you keep those lots split like you've got them now. There's plenty of width here to still enter those garages from the side. It does mean you're gonna have more pavement because you're not sharing anything in the middle, so this gets duplicated on both lots. And it does create probably drainage.
So you're saying you have 1 driveway coming in?
You could have 1, you could have 2. I'm not convinced it doesn't work with either. And it'd be nice to go in the garage from the side. That's what I'm really trying to get to.
Yeah,
So,
no,
like we talked about
that was my.
Yeah, original intent.
That's my wife. That's what we want. We want a
Yeah.
side entry garage.
I think you can
It's
do
just- Yeah, I don't know. We can talk to you about it, but.
Yeah. I'd be
But,
more
so
than
now
willing
you're
to.
saying we have 1 driveway up
You
there?
could do 1 or 2. I'm not convinced there isn't a way to do it in either scenario. Because we've talked about it, drawn it, looked at it with 2 driveways and 1 driveway.
2 driveways, if they were, what's driveway,
12 foot.
12, that's 24 feet.
What's 24?
The 2 driveways.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and
Which
then
is
you have
what
some
you,
sort-
right now you have 2 driveways that are 20 feet because you're parking 2 cars on, right? The one I'm looking at.
Doesn't the drive, or the turnaround have to be 20 feet wide?
Do you mean the part in the right-of-way? Because these aren't turnarounds
yeah, they
here.
could, yeah.
These aren't turnarounds as drawn. That doesn't work. There's cars in them.
Mhm.
I mean, we have to presume the fire department's gonna get there. Somebody's not always gonna be in the garage 100% of the time. So there isn't really a turnaround here, other than using that somewhat, right?
Doesn't really turn you around.
It doesn't really, you know.
The shared driveway gives you a turnaround all the time because they'd have to keep it clear.
But if this garage was over here, we're not trying to design it, but if the garage was over here like we were originally talking, and you were coming into it this way, now all of this would be available for a turnaround because the second car that's outside the garage would be sitting way up there. This would all be open, no one would park in it, because they drive in like that and then go in that garage. That's what I'm not, again, trying to be helpful here. I think there's a solution that's gonna work for you, and also provide a turnaround. And you may just have to roll up your sleeves a little heavier on the drainage improvements on the front, because you are gonna have more pavement if
Wouldn't
you
you
don't
just
do
use
it this way.
pervious pavement? I
You
mean,
could do it. Not my expertise, but I would think you could do it.
Good.
It's gotta be
If it's
maintained, or
turnaround
it
though,
doesn't-
big city
doesn't
truck,
work.
you might not want that.
Are you proposing like rain gardens up here? I may have missed it, but it seemed like there is a lot of water at the front of the site and the back.
Yeah.
I mean, this is standing water, but there's a lot of water in the spring up here. So is there a landscape plan for that, showing what you're gonna do?
We just dug test pits last week, so we're
Okay.
still in the process of doing the grading and drainage. I guess we were planning on rain gardens.
As far as the water accumulation in the front on the Meredith side, I don't know if you know, I've lived there for 10 years, and we've never seen it linger more than a day. It's not like there.
Well, that's good.
constantly. Yeah, it drains, I don't know where it goes, but it does disappear.
Must infiltrate. Well, I mean, that to me is good news, because it means there's less sensitivity to impervious
In the
surface.
front, yeah.
Other than your budget.
The back is a different story.
So where's the water from these roofs gonna go?
You're gonna direct
Does it
them.
go into the front, or does it go into the back?
We haven't finished the drainage design yet, but we would direct it to one of the green gardens.
It seems to me that you should really put an under drain in. If you're gonna put a rain garden down there where there's wet, then it needs to be under drained so that it can function properly. Because other than that, you just turn it into a swamp hole.
I like that, that's.
Like what happened on Maplewood Avenue by the pond. Remember that Schindberg thing that happened?
Mhm. Yep, not enough water table depth to clear the water.
Right, just turned them mud, and then
They had to adjust it.
aquatic plants growing in their driveway, and just,
And the basement flooded too. don't
yes.
they? Do these have full basements?
Yeah, planning on it, yeah.
I had a comment on the, I don't know if you need to go to trees and greenery, because you're clearing a bunch of trees on is that considered a city street there? So that would be trees and greenery, I think, to clear all those, and my recommendation would be to plant a row of oaks. There's a really nice row of oaks on, ironically enough, Pine Street across there. But it'd be nice to plant some oaks along the side on the right as you come in, to kind of match what's happening on Pine Street.
On the right side of Meredith.
Yeah, it'd be a nice border for the park there. And that might help satisfy the Trees and Greenery Committee.
It's not 20 feet. It's 20 feet. I'll just take my put it up before, I'll bring it up again. That should be 20 feet. Oh, no, it's not the turn line, but the access to it. You need to have a first one. The roof is real old. I'm not worried about that. It needs to be a minimum width, within 50 feet of the board, and narrows down.
Any other comments, or?
Peter, just one question. I don't know if this was discussed before. Typically, we would expect that the fire department access would be 20 feet in width. It narrows down to 16. I don't know if this was discussed before. And I know that's more technically impervious surfaces, and that's an issue, but just something to consider, that unless you guys have previously discussed this, because I know it came up before, it would need to be a 20-foot width within 50 feet of the, so the turnaround could be, if you left it as this is now, the turnaround being only 16 feet wide, that's fine, but you'd need 20 feet width at least to the driveway.
So they do have 20 feet wide for their driveway.
Right, but it narrows down here, there's a choke point.
Yeah,
The road extension narrows down.
Was there a reason that you needed to narrow it, or is it just due to cost?
I think it was,
Just primarily to stay out of the park, basically.
Yeah.
That road, the existing Meredith is, what is it, do you know what that is?
it's like 18.
18.
Oh, well, that's fine. I mean, I'm not gonna know. If it matches the existing road, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna make you I wouldn't say the road needs to be
I
bigger
think
than
that's
it
why
is.
we did it that way.
Okay, yeah, all right, that's, like I said, I wasn't here for it, so.
Yeah, actually, I think that came from you.
It did.
Yeah.
And this guy.
I think what,
Yeah.
16 feet before.
That's kind of a two driveway idea.
Thanks.
You want to keep in mind, though, what the frontage for that second lot. I can't see what Nick has done, but
In terms of what?
well, in terms of the frontage,
I'll show you.
just so that it's at least, what,
It's at least, yeah.
31 feet?
Yeah, what we
Yeah.
requested from the Board of Adjustment was the bare minimum to get that
Yeah,
driveway
okay.
in. So as long as the driveway's in relatively the same place, we'll
Yeah.
be fine. Or we'll have more.
Or at least, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I haven't moved it, so it will
Yeah,
still work.
okay, then it'll
Yeah.
work.
Sorry, you lost everything.
That's okay.
All right, well, let's open it up. If there's anyone from the public or on Zoom that would like to make any comments? Seeing none, we'll close that portion. And open it up for TAC discussion.
Is the applicant considering a redesign based on some of the staff comments?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, I'd like to see a little more landscaping, as I mentioned. Sounds like they need a new design on the access. At least, and the drainage, yeah. We need a little more drainage information. And then, we gotta figure out if you need to go to trees and greenery. Might be nice to do beforehand, but I don't think that matters to this group, probably.
And so trees and greenery would be if we're removing
Any
trees in the
city
right of way.
way.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, and there's a certain diameter that underneath it, it's just considered brush, and then, anything that's over a certain size. I'm not sure if it's 6 inches or 4 inches or what it is, but
I'm not either.
There isn't a lot there.
Not a lot there.
Just leave it
Certainly
there.
nothing worse
It's hard to tell how far you were going in the field, so.
Sure.
As you go further down, they get a little bigger.
Again, our goal is to go is to leave as much as we can.
Yep.
Obviously.
Sounds like you want to see it come back with the updated drainage plans, the new sightline.
Oh, yeah.
One other question. We had asked about curving the road maybe a little bit at the end to bring the pavement closer to the boundary line. Is that acceptable?
Having it less centered, you mean, in that
Yeah.
right of way? What's the core purpose of that? Saving vegetation, or?
Or keeping it away from the park.
Give it, yeah, the park.
It's, where's the wood fence now in relation to that? Must be out, is it outside the right of way or in it? Isn't there a wood fence on the
No,
back?
there's nothing.
That's
I
around
mean,
the
I don't-
park.
It's on the other side of the park.
I don't know why we'd move it much and that it much matters. It's a straight street, should probably stay that way.
Okay.
Relatively straight. Dave, would you agree?
yeah, I do.
Oh, also, can we use the existing water shutoff valve that's servicing the existing house? One of the comments was to install new curb stops at the property lines.
You're definitely gonna need to put new curb stops in, absolutely. Not a doubt. So we're gonna make her remove the first one before they even give you a demo permit, so.
Are you ready for a motion?
Yes, I am.
I'll make a motion to postpone to the next month's meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Oh, we do have, I don't know if you noticed Donna was up there, Donna's playing.
Oh.
On the,
I think isn't she legal?
no,
She a
she's,
commenter?
yeah,
Did she have her hand up?
She didn't have her.
she doesn't have her hand up?
Seen a butter there?
Yeah, well, she's on,
Yeah, she's in the.
top of Meredith, yeah.
I didn't see her raise her hand when I asked
All
her.
right.
But there'll be another opportunity.
Next meeting, yeah.
Thanks for taking this through the BOA too, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can do whatever you.
All right, next up is item D, the request of Lonza Biologics applicant for property located at 101 International Drive within the Pease Development Authority requesting a site plan review approval under Chapter 400 of the Pease Land Use Controls for a 4,200 square foot cafe expansion with associated landscaping, stormwater, and infrastructure improvements. Said property is located on Assessor Map 305, Lot 6, and lies within the Airport Business Commercial District.
Thanks, Peter.
Neil.
Neil Hansen with Tyne Bond on behalf of the applicant Lonza. So the proposed project is a 4,200 square foot footprint, two-story addition to the front of their existing building at 101 International. The footprint, the expansion is going to be located in the area of the existing patio space located off the front of the building, sort of in the middle. So this overall plan shows the entire parcel, and then the proposed expansion is there in the front, right off the main building. So the two-story expansion, the first floor is going to be an expansion of their existing cafeteria space, and then the second story is going to be some additional cubicles and offices to support their existing employees on the site. So for site plan, so there's the expansion. So to the right there as well is a second story or two-story deck. So the concrete pad area is going to be covered by what will be a deck off the second story of the addition. So primarily the entire expansion area is going to be roof and deck area with a sidewalk going to that double door entrance right in the middle. And then we'll just be reconstructing the sidewalk that's being disturbed as part of the construction. If you go to the next sheet. So stormwater on the site, we'll be connecting the addition area into a jellyfish filter and then discharging into the existing stormwater system. That system then runs around to the back of the building into the existing detention pond at the rear of the site. There's an existing roof drain that comes out of the building in this location, so that will be also maintained as part of this. There's a drain inside the footprint that'll be converted to just a clean out, and then the root of the drain will be maintained into the existing system. If you go to the next sheet. So utility-wise, the main piece here is the replacement of an existing grease trap that's located in the patio where the addition's going. So the current grease trap comes out of the building in this same location as where we're showing it here, then goes through the grease trap, and then the outlet of the existing grease trap actually runs back into the building and discharges out to the sewer in Goose Bay Drive. Because we're pulling the grease trap farther away from the existing building, we can't get tied back into that existing outlet, so we're proposing a new connection out into the sewer, which runs down the shoulder of International. And then that grease trap, I don't recall the existing size of the grease trap, but the MEP for the project has done some calculations, and the new grease trap will be a 4,500 gallon grease trap. So that's the general overview of the project. We did receive some comments on Friday, so I'll run through those quickly. First comment is the applicant should adjust the landscape plan to incorporate irrigation conservation measures as listed in section 6.11 of the site plan regulations. So the project being out of Pease is covered under the Pease land use controls, so this section does not apply. However, the existing irrigation on site, which we'll be continuing to use, is on an automated timer system. So I believe that covers what would typically be required. 2, the current site plan shows the addition of a jellyfish filter for BMP. The applicant should provide a description of LID measures such as using recycled water system and increase the permeability of walkways and patios. So again, this project is covered under the Pease land use regulations. The main component of that we needed to address as part of this project was the requirement by the PDA that we treat 2 times the amount of proposed impervious that we're adding to the site. So this project is increasing the impervious area on the site by just over 2,500 square feet. And the area that we are treating with the new stormwater filtration system is 6,500 square feet, so we are over that 2 times the proposed amount. A large part of this area where this addition's going is also gravel, which is technically not considered impervious, but it is pretty generally not very stormwater friendly. 3, no Fernco connections on the sewer. Solid material coupling should be used to be approved by the sewer department before installation. We have no problems with that. We can make that change and also note that the connections are to be approved prior to construction. And then confirm the grease trap size is adequate for this facility. As I previously mentioned, the new grease trap was sized by the project's MEP, and it will be a 4,500 gallon grease trap. So that's all I have.
Great, thanks. Any other comments or questions?
Question for Mike. Mike, is there actually vitreous clay sewer out there, or is it all EC?
Michael Mates from PDA Engineering Department. I couldn't tell you
Might
without.
come up to the microphone.
Michael Mates with PDA Engineering Department. Dave, I don't know the answer to that. I have to go out and do a little bit more research to find out what's going on there.
Yeah, the surveyor listed is vitreous clay, but I didn't think there was any clay out at Pease.
Oh, there is still a little bit left
There
in
is
random
some?
spots, yeah.
Okay,
But,
so it might be, okay.
I don't know, that's International Drive.
So, I mean, the only comment is if it's AC, you should put a note on there that says it's potentially hazardous to cut it.
But we can note it anyway, just like in case that's what they find.
Okay.
Yeah, this survey was done in June of this year, so surveyors have gotten materials wrong. So.
It's been known to happen.
Yep. Anything else?
Just a generic question. What are the white boxes in the cafeteria that are drawn here?
Those are stairs. So there's a sort of a mid-tier level inside that's slightly elevated from right now the proposed addition is kind of built into the side of a hill because the parking lot's at a higher elevation. So there's like a raised tier inside so that people sitting in the cafeteria can see out. I think there's going to be some low windows along that wall.
I guess I should have just assumed they look like stairs. They are stairs.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was too easy, Dave. I couldn't help myself.
All right. Anyone from the public wish to speak on this? Don't see any. One on Zoom. Close that portion. All right, open for TAC discussion.
Make a motion to move this on to the planning board.
Second.
Confirm, the only remaining stipulation that you have there is that just want to make sure this is, that the sewer connections and the solid coupling must be approved by the sewer department before installation. Is that the only remaining stipulation?
And
And add the note.
Can you clarify what that note is about? Sorry, I wasn't.
So the note is that if the existing pipe is found to be an AC pipe, that appropriate measures be taken by the contractor to legally dispose of that material. I don't know.
AC pipe?
Asbestos cement.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
To scale, though?
No,
That's what I didn't think you were.
I'm like, okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah. And then the second floor, I was like, oh.
All right.
I know, because they're not there.
Social club.
Yeah. Yeah.
Last item, item E, the request of Road to the West LLC, owner and applicant for property located at 140 West Road, requesting amended site plan approval to improve and install stormwater infrastructure, relocated dumpsters, install landscaping, and increase parking spaces from 102 spaces to 122, where 119 are required. Said property is located on Assessor Map 252, Lot 2-13, lies within the industrial district.
Good view.
Ideas at the end of the day.
Oh, that's so nice of you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, great.
Hard things to get through. What I missed?
Who's going to go first?
Whoever wants to start, take it away.
Mark, you want to start or you want me to start?
Doesn't matter.
Good afternoon, Mark Giannetti from McHenry Architecture. I'm joined today with our client here, Alex Croquette, and the applicant, along with Alex Ross from Ross Engineering, Chris from Bozen Associates, and we also have our contractor, Dan Carino. Thank you.
Give that man a chocolate.
Exactly. We have Grant, who's going to be managing the property. Thank you very much. And Richard from our office as well. So we were at, I'll save the chocolate for later. We were here at a work session a couple weeks ago to review the project with you, so we'll keep the presentation short. In general, we're looking to redevelop the property that was formerly the trampoline park and basically turn it into a social and kind of sports club. We can go through briefly the architectural plans. We'll start with the interior and then move to the exterior with Alex. But in general, the exterior of the building is going to have minor modifications. We're adding some openings, a couple stair towers, because we're actually going to be infilling with a second floor of about 2/3 of the building, because right now we have, well over 20-foot ceiling heights inside the building. It's like page 18 or so. We get to the floor plans. So as I mentioned, it's going to be kind of a sports and social club. So right now, we're going to be providing a kitchen on the left, which is a little over 1,000 square feet for service, with a bar in front of that. So starting from the right and moving left, we're going to have 10 golf simulators, 6 on the first floor and 4 on the second floor. These are by Top Golf, or the company has
produces the same simulators for Top Golf. In addition to that, we're also going to have axe throwing. There's 6 axe throwing lanes in the bottom left-hand side. That's a company out of Rochester, New York that manufactures the axe throwing games. So in addition to just bullseye, they use projectors to basically project on the wood boards. So the games are kind of endless, tic-tac-toe or various other things. So we've got 6 axe throwing lanes there. Across from that, we have a laser shot system. There's two areas for that, which are simulated guns, and can have various games as well, not just a single target practice. Alex has also, I know, talked to the police department regarding this, that this could be an opportunity for training as well for them. The second floor is a combination of more of the social club. We've got conference rooms for members to use, some additional simulators, corporate offices, and then also an allotment of space that's going to be future leasable space, office space for other tenants. And as I mentioned, really we're only expanding the footprint of the building. There's 2 stair towers that are on the west and north of the building, as well as a walk-in cooler that's on the east side of the building. Otherwise, the footprint of the building, it hasn't changed at all. So I'll turn it over to Alex, and he can go over more of the site stuff.
Thanks, Mark. So I think we covered a lot of this ground at the last meeting, but if we can go to the existing conditions plan, Peter. So I don't know if everyone's familiar with this site, but this is a fully developed site. Was built in the late 80s. A lot of pavement, no landscaping, no real provisions for drainage. So a lot of room for site improvements. If you can go to the next sheet on the site plan.
Can I stop you real quick, just while we're looking at the existing features plan? That drain pipe that's going down the east side,
Yeah.
is there a drainage easement for that? Because the Market Basket's using that to convey their stormwater through there, aren't they?
I'm not aware of a drainage easement.
No easement, no.
Okay, thank you.
So if we look at the site plan, we've made this parking conforming. The existing parking, the spaces, the lane widths are not conforming, so we've shifted things around. We do have adequate amount of spaces. In the right front of the building, we have placed some stormwater detention chambers. And also, we have done 4 test pits in the front of the building to prove that we have good receiving soil for that. One of the comments at the work session was it was recommended to put in some pervious asphalt. So we did put that out back behind the building. We can get into that more on the drainage plan. So if we can go to the landscape plan. So currently the site is really kind of barren. So we came up with a big improvement for the landscape, trees along the east side, a lot along West Road, and then some additional planting areas next to the building where we could fit it in. I know one of the comments was it was recommended to try to break up the parking spaces with some landscaped islands. So I'm sure we can fit that in. If we go to the next sheet, it's the utility plan. So on this plan, you can see in the upper left, we have a new electrical service. We've also shifted the generator. That was one of the comments at the work session. And also a comment that just came out Friday was the grease trap is recommended to be shifted closer to the building and try to remove some of those bend lines, and we can definitely accommodate that. And then if you can go to the parking plan. So this sheet has all the parking spaces numbered on it. And as was discussed, the board would like some landscaped islands. So we were thinking about space 48, which would almost be in the front of the building up by West Road. So that would break up that area. And then 87, which would be way out back, almost in the middle. And then along the curve, 117. And we still have enough parking to meet the calculation if that's done, so we'd be happy to do that. Peter, if you could go to the next sheet, grading and drainage. So on this sheet, we put in a lot of elements to take care of stormwater runoff, where currently all the water sheet flows off the roof, sheet flows off the parking lot, either into catch basins or straight out back into the wetlands. So the plan is to collect the roof runoff, and that will go into the left side and the right side. And on either side of the building, we're proposing cisterns that will collect water for supplemental irrigation. Then it will flow into our stormwater chambers in the front, and then into a series of catch basins. And there'll actually be a jellyfish filter catch basin up front before that gets routed out back.
Where is that? I don't see it.
That would be up by the entrance. You can see catch basin B.
Just to the left.
And then in the upper right on that sheet, that's labeled as the jellyfish filter.
All right, so that's not really the traditional configuration, but trying to figure out what you're doing with grading here. 101, 89, 101, 50, 101. Why is it, where, God, sorry, but I'm trying to figure out where's the parking lot stormwater go? Okay, follow the arrows.
Yeah, that sheet flows off into the catch basin.
And then the roof runoff is coming off of the storm tech chambers. They both get combined and drain manhole B?
So the roof runoff goes into cisterns, and
Yep,
then
I heard you.
then flows to catch basin A,
Catch basin A.
and then over to drain manhole A, and then over to drain manhole B.
So it goes from drain manhole B into,
All right, so catch basin A doesn't go through the jellyfish filter?
Correct, because that's just roof runoff.
Well, no, it's not. It's a catch basin.
Well, the catch basin A, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we could make that a sealed top. It's really not it's not a low point.
So
collecting.
all the water from the front parking lot goes into catch basin B, which is really catch basin A, because there is only one catch basin.
Correct.
Okay, and that catch basin is adequately sized for that entire parking lot?
It is.
You sure?
Well, we can show you the numbers. Yes.
Okay. So then, from there, it's gonna go, so you're saying the jellyfish and the catch basin are all the same structure? I haven't seen one of those.
No,
Usually it's its own thing.
Yeah, they're separate. So there's a catch basin B, and then drain manhole B.
Yeah? Okay, and the drain pipe seems to be going in, like, on an arc.
I mean,
It's
from
supposed to be like schematic?
drain manhole A to drain manhole B.
Yeah.
Yeah, that should be a straight line.
Yes, it should. Okay, so, will you really, so they make a jellyfish that goes in a catch basin. So you're asking this one catch basin to catch the entire parking lot and then treat it all?
The front parking lot.
Okay. So I want to see the paperwork on that from the manufacturer, that one structure can do everything
Sure.
in the world. Okay, and then the porous pavement that you're putting out back, you're putting it downhill of non-porous pavement,
Right.
which
Yeah.
is a no-no.
Yeah,
Always.
we saw that as a comment. So there's a couple things we could do with that. We could move that close to the building.
You should. Yep, uphill.
And make that, so if you look at the parking plan, that'd be spaces 97 to 114.
Yep.
Yep.
That would be good. Okay, now the rest of the parking spaces on the downhill side, you're gonna run through a rain garden.
Correct.
Okay. And there's gonna be calculations for that.
Yes. Yeah, we
Okay.
did pass in a drainage study.
Okay. And then from there, there's gonna be an outfall structure? Because right now, it's just an open pipe, right?
Yes.
So there's gonna be some kind of outfall structure there?
Well,
But it's got like different size orifices for different size storms and...
correct. Yeah.
That sort of stuff?
And ultimately, it goes to that drain manhole too, and then out to the wetlands. Currently, there's just a busted up 4-inch pipe in there.
I've seen the busted up pipe, yeah.
Yes. So
In there.
we're proposing a real
Yeah.
pipe with correct orifices. Yeah.
Okay, so we need a little more engineering done, I guess.
Yeah, that's all in the
But in
drainage.
general, as long as the catch basin A is this magic manhole that can do everything, I'm on board with you. But,
Sure.
and I understand that you're not treating the roof runoff, and I appreciate the cisterns, and I think that's a good idea. So, okay. So we just need to formalize all this stuff and draw it up a little better, and I'll be on board.
Sure. Yep, sounds good.
Okay.
So I guess just to go through there were 6 comments that came out Friday. The first one was the parking spaces with the landscaped islands. I think we've covered that, if everyone's happy with those locations for the landscaped islands. We talked about the pervious pavement, we can move that close to the building. The grease trap, we can definitely get that close to the building and adjust the lines to remove the bends. Another comment was to do a test pit out back, and we've scheduled that, so we can get right on that. And I think that covers it. So overall, all these site improvements is a huge step in the right direction.
It is. I got one more comment for you. Just looking at your plan here, you got a bunch of trees planted on the east property line right over that drainage pipe that I asked you about. There are 6 green trees shown on landscape plan that should definitely not be there. See what I'm talking about?
I do, yeah, I think we,
These right here?
So there shouldn't be any trees growing on that line. And because that line is really very important to the overall functioning of the subdivision that is the industrial park, I think we're gonna need to make sure that there's some sort of easement for whoever's using that pipe. I'm not sure the city's tied into it, but I know Market Basket is.
I don't think Market Basket is directly tied.
I think that's how they drain that whole giant retention pond that's behind Hebert's, that's fenced off. That's where that pipe's going. So this is a very important pipe. So we need to figure out who's tied into it and make sure that they have rights to it. Because if they lose the rights to it, it's gonna be very expensive for somebody.
Yeah, we can adjust those trees or
Okay.
remove them. Sure.
I had a question on the, you moved the pervious pavement, but you didn't comment on how you're gonna deal with the under drain of it. Is it gonna be, try to infiltrate, or is it still piped to the, straight, directly to the rain garden?
I think it depends on the test pits you're
Yeah, I
gonna do,
think
right?
it would be both, but we'd want to do a test pit, and we can provide that information.
So originally, there was really good soil here, but a lot of it got mined out. So it really depends on what they left. And some of the stuff they left wasn't very good.
What type of soil are you typically looking for in that area?
Well, originally, that was all really nice gravels and sands. But to use it as an impervious, or as a treatment,
Pervious pavement.
you need to have pretty good material and not, so you're gonna have a layer of good material right underneath the pavement, of course, hopefully.
That's the plan.
And it's really what the soil is like underneath that. So what they did in general was when they were mining this, they would sell it as material, and then they would allow people from other areas to bring their dirt in to fill the hole back in. So you might have any number of things under the ground.
Okay.
And probably not the beautiful gravel that was there originally.
Okay.
But some of it was. I mean, it was like the Market Basket site was all really nice material.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
that's why the test pits are important.
How did our other tests come out? I mean, we have pretty good soils, you think?
Yeah, up front, we did. So we'll see what we find out back.
Thank you.
Your code review, it doesn't mention the International Fire Code, IFC 2015. It's locally adopted. If you could just add that to your review. There isn't many differences, but it wasn't, it was that and also one. Those are missing from your reviews. But other than that, I didn't. The one thing with the door on the back, the rear side, I was just looking at it, and all I can think is someone's going to park there. Nothing wrong with having the door there, but just consider adding some signage. I don't know whether you want to do it on the pavement or just above the door, just to keep somebody from blocking the door.
Certainly.
But other than that, nothing else.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, you still working on a traffic analysis or traffic study?
We are.
Okay.
Yes, Eric, I know that was one of your comments, so we are working with our consultant, and he's putting something together.
Okay.
We don't anticipate it's really going to have much of an impact just because of this location, its use, and the surrounding larger roads, but we'll definitely get you that.
Okay.
And we're thinking that'll be less car usage, less vehicle usage than what was there before?
Yep. I don't know how long ago that was in business. Or,
Blitz was what, 2000?
We closed in 2019.
2019.
okay.
Speaking of cars, since you put them on the drawing, what are you putting inside that are vehicles? I'm assuming they're not actually going to be cars, so, or are they?
They are, but they're on display.
Oh, okay.
So they might get changed out, but basically,
Sure. So that's another thing with the IFC, they're required no more than 5 gallons in it. Gas tank has to be sealed. That's why I mentioned it. So.
yep.
I came to the city last year to talk to Peter and Peter just because I didn't really know what we were going to do with the building. And we had all kinds of different ideas, so we finally came up with something I feel would be a huge help to the adults in the community, that give them a place to go and have some fun. So they recommended hiring a team, and so I put together this team, and I'm thrilled to have them because they're busy people, but we're here to do it right, and I want to tell you that, you know, having to work with the city, but if there's something you think we need to do, we'd rather not just do minimum, we'd like to do better than minimum, so if you have any recommendations, I want to be the person that, I want to make sure that the city's proud of me, and I want to have a good reputation with the city, so I'm here to do the right thing.
Thank you.
All right, I'll open it up to any public comments. I don't see anybody additionally on Zoom or in the audience. But- All right, close that and open it to TAC for discussion or motion.
I think that most planning things can be updated, prior to planning board. I'm asking Dave if he feels like he needs to see it again, or if he would like to work through those last items prior to planning board. And the ones I have are, you want to see detail for the catch basin B, I think, demonstrating that it has sufficient capacity, address the trees on the eastern property line, traffic study. So I don't know if you need to see it back for any of those. And then I think most of the other items still need to be updated. On the plan set, and the test pit for the BMPs, I don't know if that is significant enough to hold it back in the porous pavement, so those are questions.
You can't design anything unless you know what you're designing on.
We'll see it back.
Yeah, but hopefully we can pass it after that.
Is that a motion?
Sure.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you. Chocolate.
Little pick-me-up this time of day.
Yes.
Especially after the big weekend, thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.